TV.
Over the last 4 years, Kitchener and Ward 7 have seen prosperous growth and significant investments in infrastructure, resulting in a better quality of life for all Kitchener residents. Investments in parks, trails, cycling, safer streets, investments in our environment, committing to greenhouse gas reductions, to supporting our community during the lockdown. Investments in promoting job growth and economic development by supporting our secondary school institutions and creating incubator space. Investments in affordable housing and creating a community inclusive for all. Support an ever-changing community, consistency with a proven track record, and experience matter more than ever. I want to continue to invest in our success that I helped build in the areas I just mentioned to keep Kitchener vibrant in a post-pandemic world. That is why I am running, and I respectfully ask for your support.
Hello, my name is Colin Malley, and I am running for Ward 7 Council in Kitchener because back in 2020, we had an issue with the City of Kitchener. I went out and I got a whole bunch of petitions, 300. The city was actually inundated with emails from the constituents of Ward 7. However, we didn't have the help of our Ward Councillor at the time. And because of that, it passed anyways. We had meetings, we had everything to try and help the people, and it just wasn't there. And I would like to be there for the citizens of Ward 7 and the citizens of Kitchener so that we are able to create a better community. When someone needs help, that I'm there to help them. When someone needs support, I'm there to support them. Thank you.
I was born and raised in Ward 7. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a neighbor, and I'm a friend to many people in our community. I'm proud to say that in each of these areas, I live my life with intention. I'm always family first. The pandemic was a horrible time, and yet an amazing opportunity to take stock of what truly matters. For me, this was about deep self-reflection. Who am I in my 50s? What have I accomplished? How am I living my life? What examples am I setting for my children? And most importantly, what am I giving back? That led me to volunteer work at the food bank. There, I truly saw my community. I saw those members who need support, who need all of our help. I was in awe to be among volunteers who give up so much of their time and energy to help other residents. I knew then that the best way for me to give back to my community was to use my experience and skill set and run for City Council.
That's another great question. First of all, every issue is important, but the number one issue that I hear as a member of council on a day-to-day basis is traffic. So how do we keep our residents safe? I would like to continue to invest in passive traffic calming measures, like the ones that you see in the middle of the room, and they come with the 40-kilometer signs. They're very durable and they're proven to be very effective. The city as well, we've just reduced our overall speed limits from 50 kilometers to 40 kilometers. And this is still being rolled out. And it will condition drivers to learn to slow down. And in addition, we've also implemented 30-kilometer school zones that are in collaboration with our regional partners that have installed speed cameras around school zones. So that's one focus. Another focus is on our reconstruction of old roads and in the lens of complete streets and all users and Vision Zero strategy. And when possible, have police patrol. All these tools combined and with newer tools in education, that's our key to economy.
When I have been walking around and canvassing all the people in my neighborhood, there have been several key issues. Homelessness is obviously a key issue, as well as the storm drain that's going to be built in Meadow Lanes. We also have West Heights storm drain that needs to be cleaned out, and it hasn't been. It was looked at in 2015, and it hasn't been done yet. Most people are not happy with the 30 zone on West Heights, with the speed camera there, making it even more difficult for people to drive. I feel that we need to take a look at these issues. There's also people are feeling when they cross Iron Needles, it's difficult. It's a regional road, but I would definitely lobby to try and get a crosswalk or light that actually says that there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk. There's also people that are unhappy with having buildings being built in their backyard, which is a problem. So I would like to help all those issues that we have, as well as affordable housing, which we'll get to later.
Ward 7 is a great place to live, work, and play. Can we make it better? Of course we can. I've talked with our residents. They want to engage. They want to be heard, and they deserve answers. People have shared many of their stories with me, from traffic issues to green space upkeep. One particular area of concern is West Heights Pond, which has been mishandled for decades. The pond is a necessary and vibrant wildlife habitat, home to many different species of plants and animals. It should be at the same standard as the other water areas in our region. Our green spaces are not museum pieces. They need our care and attention in order to flourish. Because we have a growing population, our parks and facilities need to grow as well. More programs, more activities, both free and paid, must be accessible to more people.
I want to start off by stating that we are in a housing crisis. Growth the housing continue. And all growth should be within the defined urban boundary countryside line that is established. We need to approve projects faster and as many as possible, but to do our best to maintain the character and sustainability. We also need to ask out of our private sector to include more affordable housing in these units as well. The best way to grow in our community is to continue by supporting duplexes and tertiary units like the tiny homes in our backyards. It is the gentlest form of intensification and has the least disruption to neighborhoods. The highest densities should be located along our major transit routes and major stations, providing a 15-minute walkable community to all of your needs of work, live, and play.
So I actually have an idea where the city becomes a developer. What the city does is the city buys land and it then creates apartment buildings for families. With that, we're able to create a profitable model where people get a lovely place to live and say they normally couldn't afford, because in my neighborhood, houses are renting for about $3,000 a month, which is not affordable for most people. So what I feel is that if the city is able to create a for-profit organization just like the utilities, and then create apartment buildings for families to be able to live in, I think that that would really help the community out. And I think that would be great for people.
I like the direction that the city's heading with intensification. Kitchener is expected to grow by 140,000 residents in the next 30 years. To grow sustainably, staff has suggested developing neighborhoods where people can live, eat, work, learn, and play, all within a 15-minute radius. The closer we are to the services we use, the smaller our carbon footprint is. Families living in a 15-minute neighborhood could go down to paying for one automobile instead of two. This change will encourage more use of Kitchener's fantastic cycling paths. They're a great way to get around and see interesting parts of the city that you just might miss in a car. The environment needs to be a priority in every decision that council makes. We need to utilize our urban land to the fullest. When we redevelop at higher density, we save on land costs, we save on development costs, and as a city, we need to live within our financial means.
Homelessness, it's a difficult and sad seeing individuals suffering. I feel the city of Kitchener has punched above its weight in regards to this issue. The city took on an active role in leading and supporting a better tent city. The city invested in a 40 beds women's shelter and has financially supported One Roof Smooth to new location. And the city's not just done there yet. Unfortunately, the city of Kitchener doesn't have the capacity to deal with this. The city doesn't receive funding for this or have the staff to deal with the homelessness. So this is where I feel the region's expertise is it's part of your jurisdiction. Take the lead on this, but in collaboration with the city. And this is another issue that I see that's just not a Kitchener problem. It is a Canadian problem. And so we need to work with all levels of government.
We are very fortunate to have a little tent city, a better little tent city in the city of Kitchener, which is a great role model for us. It is sustainable, it is affordable, and it provides a safe housing for people who are homeless. I feel that we need to have supports in place for people who have difficulties managing mental health issues, addiction, so that when they need help, the support is there for them. I also need to make sure, we need to make sure as the city of Kitchener that we're taking care of the most vulnerable. Because if we don't, that really reflects on us as a society and us as the city of Kitchener. We have the resources to do this, but like I said, we need to get people who are able to help the people who need the most amount of help.
People need faster access to affordable housing. While this primarily falls on higher levels of government, I ask myself, how can a city councillor contribute? Like anyone in this role, I will work with all levels of government, but to me, it means working diligently with city staff and council to explore fresh and innovative ideas. For example, do we have vacant city land that can be used for development? Have we truly done all we can to incentivize our developers to build affordable housing? Can we speed up and cut the red tape that stifles progress, such as permits and zoning issues? I will be persistent with questions like this. There is no quick fix, yet we are a barn-raising community. When you fall down, it's the community that helps build you back up.
To start off, I've been doing the job for the last 12 years, and many of the decisions that we made by council achieved numerous and national awards during that time, many of our programs and initiatives. In addition, I've sat and chaired on numerous committees and boards. I have lived in the ward for 50 plus years. I have a financial background as a retirement planner. More importantly, I've been able to work collaboratively with my colleagues on council to get things done. In addition, I work well with all levels of government, no matter what political party they represent, to ensure our city gets the support they need.
I am very fortunate to have several careers. I was a teacher and I was also an engineer. So as an engineer, I come to the table with the ability to problem solve and to look at the ideas with a critical and also a different lens. So it allows me to think outside the box and allows me to solve those problems. As a teacher, I work with other students, with parents, with other community members to try and solve problems so that everyone is able to be and learn the best that they can. I also listen. I've been going from door to door listening to all of the issues in our neighborhood, and I feel that when people hear what the issues are, people are more likely to solve the problems, and that's all I want to do. I just want to solve the problems and help the people of Kitchener and the people in Ward 7. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, my name is Colin Malley.
I am committed to this community. Waterloo Region is at a crossroads. There is economic uncertainty. We're piecing our lives back together after a global emergency. And we're set to have tremendous change on regional council this year. Kitchener needs strong, optimistic, and compassionate leadership for its future. I want to engage with all residents and listen to what matters to you. Your opinions are important information. This is your city. I'm excited by the opportunity of this challenge. My life has started to slow down in my 50s. My kids are independent, and I have the time and energy to work for the people in this community. I want to show my kids that it's always important to do more, to work harder, and to live with intention. I'm committed to our community. I will be visible and available to you.
I love our city. I love Ward 8, and as a council, we were just hitting our stride in early 2020 when everything shut down. And council did a really good job of managing as a team during this crisis, but there's many things we weren't able to do and that I would like to do in this next term. One of those things would be to enhance connections between neighborhoods and share community expertise. We have so much community expertise. I want to continue my work on the Economic Development Advisory Council and other committees. We need a strong, experienced council to lead us through the next 4 years of what looks to be challenging financial times. And I've always been a community and business connector, and I want to continue to bring that expertise to Ward 8 and to City Council as a whole. And I want to earn your support again. Yeah, well, Ward 8 is an incredibly diverse ward. And really what brings the various neighborhoods together is their passion about community. Intensification was a huge topic during the recent development application in Belmont Village. Traffic, both volume and speeding in residential neighborhoods continues to be an issue, both in Ward 8 and citywide. Urban forestry is another issue that citizens raise with me. Trees, we need to both maintain the trees that we have and to expand our tree canopy. And this makes sense when we consider that our neighborhoods are Westmount, Maple Hills, Lakeside Park, and Forest Hill. And residents are also very concerned about social issues, including affordability and homelessness. Yeah, that's such a great question. Well, I think that's something that we have concentrated on. And if you take a look around the city right now, you'll see lots of cranes everywhere. And truly, helping with affordability will be to increase the housing stock that we have. So affordable housing is the purview of the region of Waterloo. The city of Kitchener does not receive affordable housing funding. So we need to be working very, very closely with them. And it has been a big issue in terms of intensification and how that fits into our neighborhoods. But we need to do it. We need to do it in smart ways. And I would also, we have to deal with each development application that comes to us. I would love to see developers come to us with more kind of that missing middle in terms of intensification. Thank you. Well, and thank you. And we absolutely need to be partners with the region of Waterloo on this issue. And, you know, when I get asked by residents about this, I always say, if this was an easy thing to solve, we would solve this. We need to look at it with compassion. But at the same time, we need to be addressing it. Some of the things that we have done and will continue to do are, as you said, keep raising it with the region of Waterloo, who does receive funding for it. But we need to be pushing the provincial and federal government to provide more funding for housing. They're the ones that have the money to do that. We have done such things as a Better Tent City. We've provided land for the YWCA shelter recently. So we're doing our part. We need to do more, but I want to hear ideas from people when I knock on doors. Let's show a little creativity and work together on this. Yeah, I'd say that the experience that I have is that I have always been a community connector. I've always worked in public relations. I have the ability to get along well with council and with staff, and frankly, that's how you get things done. And I think that we've moved forward as a council really well in the last few years. There's certainly been contentious issues to deal with. We don't always agree, but we get along. And that's really important. So we need people who are connectors, who can look at big picture solutions, to be a little creative, people that work well with staff. That's how you get things done in your ward, is being able to connect people to staff. So I've really learned who on staff does what, who can come out and help our residents. And I've been able to maintain those relationships, and I just want to build on them over the next 4 years as well.
I'm running for re-election because I feel I've acquired a lot of knowledge and information during my last 4 years on council. And I think that there's a lot more that I could contribute to changing or to improving or advancing over the next 4 years. It's there's so much that involved with being a city councillor that goes much beyond just understanding how municipal politics works, but then actually making those decisions. So I like to be able to contribute further. And although I think this past 4 years we've accomplished a lot, I still have some key items that I would like to advance.
Great question. One of the main reasons is being a lifelong resident of Kitchener, born here, raised here, living in Ward 9 for the majority of my life. Living more or less in the same neighborhood around Victoria Park, watching the neighborhood grow, develop and change. I've watched, families in the street where I lived grow up and raise their kids and move on, and new families move in and start there. And I went away for a short period of time, but came back because Kitchener for me is home. I've seen the city grow into a completely different place than I remember as a child, with festivals growing over the years and becoming much bigger events. I've watched, peoples from different parts of the world come here and settle and make it their own, and just enjoyed it as my own hometown in so many ways. I felt it was time to give back and really just kind of get involved this way, and hopefully local government is the place where I can make the most amount of difference.
I'm running for council because I saw the way that the homeless people in our area are treated, and I couldn't stand by and not do anything.
I'm running for council because I decided to, right now I own my own business, and I've decided to stop doing that because I don't really want to work in corporate anymore. I wanted to go back to my roots, which is nonprofit. And as a result, I did have a job last year where I was working in a not-for-profit, and my husband said it was the happiest he'd ever seen me in his life. And so when City Council came up, he suggested that I run because it encompasses everything I like to do, helping people, etc.
Okay, so Ward 9 is a downtown ward, and the biggest items or issues that we're dealing with are affordable housing and development. So on the development side, there are, I think we need to be responsible in the way that we develop. I think we know we have a need for more housing, but how we create that housing is very important. I think we have a lot of studio apartments, one-bedroom apartments, but we need more family type housing. And also, when it comes to affordable housing, we have a thing called inclusionary zoning, which we have yet to implement, but that could help us address some of the affordable housing needs in the region and the city.
Key issue in my ward, I think that there's obviously more than one issue that's important to residents in the ward. One of the things that's come up again and again, speaking to people, is a question about affordability, about housing needs, and some of the impacts that have come from that. We've seen things like increased rents and housing and affordability, as well as social programs that have come with that. Like, sometimes there's been cases of crime rates. We've all seen the encampments and concerns around homelessness and housing insecurity. Affordability and livability, safety in those areas are obviously key elements that all kind of tie in together, along with the social aspects of it and the affordability of it.
I think the number one thing is zoning laws. I think that our best bet for affordability and reducing homelessness is allowing 3-story buildings throughout the whole city, 3-story walk-ups and triplexes.
The biggest issue in the city, I feel, is the homeless issue and lack of affordable housing. And it's especially prevalent in Ward 9 due to Ward 9 being downtown. We have the group of people who are camping in Victoria Park right now, and they need housing. And I think that first and foremost, those people can't just be kicked out. They're human beings. Let's find them transitional housing until we can find them something permanent.
So as I said, inclusionary zoning is, for me, one of the biggest tools that we haven't actually implemented. It was put on hold as we waited for the regional official plan to be passed and updated. So that's already happened. And inclusionary zoning is a tool that gives us as a city, not the region, but the city municipalities themselves, the authority to determine, require a certain percentage of affordable housing units in every new residential building over a certain height. It also allows us to define what we mean by affordable. So in order to get it right, we have to be very clear on what that percentage will be. Some will say 5%. I would say let's go 20% or higher. So, but it is a tool that was gifted to us by the Wynne government. How many years ago was that? And it's yet to have been, we haven't yet adopted it. So that's one way that we can contribute.
Super important question, obviously, tying into the earlier point. Increased housing is absolutely a priority, and that housing has to have a mix, including affordability. I'm really in favor of smart development and infill and land usage. We've only got so much space in the ward. It's already reasonably dense, but there are some areas that could be used a little bit more intensely. We do have to be smart with intensification. Development isn't going away, and that need's always going to be there. But we do have to look towards usability, affordability, sustainability, and sort of a walkable and livable area when we're weighing the concepts and the considerations of these developments, and really need to look at what the needs are of the residents in the individual areas that would be affected by those type of developments.
Like my previous answer, I think allowing intensification to actually happen without having a whole bunch of rules and restrictions around it is number one. Many cities have had tremendous success doing stuff like that, and I think that we would as well.
Again, I think transitional housing is key. For example, the Grand River Transit building on Charles Street, I think that could easily and will not super expensively be used for transitional housing for those people on the streets. In the meantime, the city did research and had a committee work on this, and they presented their results 2 years ago, and nothing has really happened as far as I'm concerned. So first of all, let's start working on it instead of just putting together PowerPoint presentations.
Good question. We have a number of tools that we can use. In fact, one of the encampments, one of the bigger encampments is in my ward. As you say, the region has a responsibility, but the city can also play a role by working with the city or with the region to solve the problem. Some of the tools that the city has, as I mentioned already, is the inclusionary zoning piece. But we also have donated land to not-for-profits to build affordable housing. The YWCA build on Block Line is one of the properties that the city donated. We can also waive development charges for not-for-profit affordable housing builds. So those things are tools that the city has. In the meantime, with the encampments in Kitchener, we're working with the region to try to make sure that the people in the encampments have the services they need, and that they try to help the residents move on as they see fit.
I think it's an incredibly complex issue that would take far more than a minute to answer properly. Homeless and its concerns and insecurity in general, affordability in general, of course, are issues we're going to keep coming back to as they tie into all the different questions in the city and the wards and the region itself. There's a lot of different approaches that we have to take, smart development, making requirements and proper master plans and zoning for proper density and affordability as part of that mix, making sure that the space is usable and welcoming to all, transport needs and walkability in those areas, to sort of affect how the land can be used and make it more effective and proper density. And social issues need to come into it as well. When we're looking at social health and mental health issues, the city needs to cooperate with the region in whatever way makes sense, as well as local organizations, to really just make sure we're touching on all the points that affect those things, and nothing is really just getting forgotten or swept under the rug.
I think our best bet is to make more better tent cities, and that can be by ourselves or through the region. But making sure that our homeless population is taken care of, I think is the best bet.
I think the region and the city should combine resources to find the funds to build affordable housing. Take some of the buildings that have been abandoned, that factories have shut down, and build affordable housing in those. Like, you look at Bread and Roses Co-op on Queen Street. That was an old factory. They've turned it into cooperative housing. It could easily be done to several other buildings in the downtown core.
I guess the biggest amount of experience I bring is having been a city councillor for 4 years in a very interesting ward, downtown ward. I always try to read up on the issues before I speak. I try to come at them from a balanced perspective, and a critical perspective as well. I am an academic by profession, and I know they're two different things. Being a politician and an academic are not the same, but there are things that do cross over and that I think are useful in my decision making at council.
Very good question. My experience has been limited primarily to my professional working world. As I said in the first question that I was asked here, I felt that after living in the city for this many years and being a big part of it, really enjoying everything the city has to offer, it was time to try to give back. And I thought one of the best ways that I could do that would be to involve myself in the decision-making process as a representative for the people that are my neighbors, the people that I grew up with, the people that I live around, that share the space and the experiences that I've had in this part of Kitchener in Ward 9. Really just lend an ear and a voice to both those things by being as involved as I can in my own neighborhood and the people around me, and then being involved in that aspect of consideration and deliberation at the city government level when choices are put before us, and we need to make decisions that are going to positively and potentially detrimentally affect all the people in that region, and do the best we can with it.
My experience comes in the form of voice. The current council is made out of 100% landowners. They all own their own house. I'm a renter. I am in the queer community. I don't own a car. I use the bus all the time. I'm a dog owner. I have a voice that they don't necessarily have.
I have a varied background in broadcasting, radio. I did some television for a while. I know a lot of people in the community. I've been active volunteering in the community. I know a lot of people. And that's just how I am. And I think that will be helpful as far as my campaign is concerned, but also I think I can help get those people involved in other ways in building our community and helping with the homeless situation and anything else that needs help with.
Well, my name's Ashlyn Clancy, and I decided to run for council during the recent provincial election. As a parent, as a citizen of Ward 10, I'm concerned about climate change and I'm concerned about equity. I'm a social worker and I've seen how low-income folks, middle-income folks have been marginalized in the way our housing market is changing, and also how often the climate isn't prioritized in elections or by different layers of politics. So, I feel as a climate advocate, as a concerned citizen, that I can do a lot to contribute to helping our ward and our city transition off of fossil fuel. And I believe that I can do a lot to bring equity to our city so that all folks feel welcome, all folks have a roof over their head, and we have a livable planet.
Hi, thank you. My name is Peter Davis, and I'd like to thank Rogers for hosting this opportunity to speak to constituents. I have a background in economics and international studies, and I'm running for council because last February I noticed that a one-bedroom apartment in Kitchener region now costs $1,700 or $1,800 for a working family making minimum wage. That is rapidly becoming unaffordable. So if a family should happen to lose their accommodation for any reason, they are now at risk of homelessness, and to me, that is unacceptable.
I'm running for city council because I believe I have a very unique experience and can make a substantial contribution to city council based on that experience. I've been a lawyer for over 30 years, a trial lawyer in downtown Kitchener. I also sit as a deputy judge, helping parties to resolve their claims or deciding those if they can't be resolved. I'm an educator. I teach courses at Laurier. I'm a mediator as well, which requires me to help people resolve their disputes or their problems. I'm a small business owner, and I'm the father of 6. So I believe, based on this life experience that I have a significant contribution that I can make to the city council.
I'm running for council because I believe there needs to be a change in politics. I believe that when change starts local, it's more sustainable, more effective, and more authentic. We've spent some time seeing what the worst in politics looks like. I believe it's now time to see what the best of politics can look like. This is my second time running, and I still believe in the vision I have for our community and for Kitchener. I've been spending this time, gaining more experiences, working in community development, and I'm really looking forward to serving Kitchener.
Why am I running for council? I believe that Ward 10, the Kitchener downtown, is actually on a tipping point. We are very slowly changing over, but we are definitely on a tipping point of changing over to the very high density area at the sacrifice of green space and a walkable downtown. The reason why I'm running is for the past couple of years, we kind of been stuck in a little bit of a political loop where nothing really changing. And I want to keep pushing that envelope a little bit. Not to say that nothing is actually going on, but I just want to make sure that we keep going forward and we keep advancing. The biggest problem we have is whenever we stop, and that's when we go backward. So that's why I want to move forward. That's why I want to run for the city council. And also, I kind of, see a little bit of a void in the representation for downtown.
been going door to door, and folks are really worried about housing. They're worried about, and that's many layers. There's housing affordability, the increase in homelessness, as well as the future for their families and their ability to have a place to live. So I think the way that our city is developing is leaving folks behind. I hope that as a city, we're going to be growing, and I hope that we can grow in a manner that doesn't leave anyone behind and ensures that everybody has a place to live going forward. As a social worker, a lot of folks have been evicted in the last 6 months to a year, more than I've ever seen. And I hear the concern at the door about feeling stuck in a rental, that if they moved anywhere, they wouldn't have a place to live, or that their kids, they won't have a home of their own one day. And so I think we have to take those concerns into consideration in the planning of and intensification of our city.
I am running in order to reduce the cost of living for Kitchener residents. And namely in housing, I think that this means that we need to make sure that we have enough supply to meet our growing demand. And so for me, this means that we must be pro-development, and we must be willing to build more housing in the downtown core, and then also look at ways to intensify other areas of the city.
I think the biggest issue in Ward 10 is Tent City, and it's the plight of the homelessness. The short-term option provided by the Tent City and the encampment can only be that, can be just a short-term solution to the problem. It requires coordination with the other levels of government. It requires a permanent fix which addresses the underlying causes for the fact that those residents do not have a home, and it requires us to make a home for everyone a paramount issue and a right that is recognized for the sake of all of the residents of the ward.
Yes, so I've been out door knocking, and a lot of what I'm hearing from people are issues around housing. So in our ward, right downtown Kitchener, there is a large disparity between the housing market and the housing crisis, and it's very visual. We have people living in tents, and we have brand new, very expensive condos and new builds happening. So yeah, there's a disparity between the two. I'd really like to see these two kind of ends of the housing issues work together. So, addressing homelessness and affordable housing, having all levels of government work together on these things, as well as looking at intensification and sustainability.
So there are a few key issues in Ward 10. Two of them are very, very big right now, safety and security. Safety and security, in a big general aspect of things, compose a lot of different things. Housing, safety issues, mental addictions, everything like that is kind of encompassed into this one phrase that we call safety and security. But those are the biggest thing that I want to tackle. Second thing I also want to tackle is, once again, the walkable downtown, where we make sure we don't lose any more green space on the sacrifice of building more high-density housing.
I think we actually have a lot of supply in one area. I'm noticing a lot of towers go up, and those towers tend to include one-bedroom apartments or one-bedroom condos. So one area is rentals, having a partnership with development whereby we can have apartments that suit the needs of the community. So yes, we do have supply issues, but I feel that the supply issues have to do with affordable units, units that suit families, like 2 and 3 bedroom units, and also subsidized units. So my argument is that yes, we need to intensify as a region. We're growing, but I think that we have to partner with developers so that the supply can meet the demands that we have. We have to ensure that everyone is considered when we grow.
As our city grows, it's important that we need more development. The development that we have currently, I think that the city should continue to encourage. when I've been watching the news and reading the paper, I've seen that time and time again, a developer will come with a minor variance to what they would otherwise be allowed to build, and then the city council has rejected those proposals. So as a council person, I would be in favor of development. Also, I would be in favor of reducing the mandatory parking requirements for new developments, and I would be in favor of ending exclusionary zoning so that certain types of development that are more appropriate for the older neighborhoods of Kitchener would be allowed.
In Ward 10, we're very fortunate to have heritage and neighborhoods that must be maintained in order to maintain what makes Kitchener special. But there is a need to continue to expand the city and allow housing for all of the residents. So the expansion of homes must take into account the heritage and the culture or the history of the ward. But I would suggest that the use of the alternative living units, such as small homes or backyard homes that was passed about a year ago by the city, be further expanded and explored.
I think the city's strategies really need to include all levels of government. The issues we're seeing in the city, but in Ward 10 with housing, are world issues and local issues. I would really like to see the city remove some red tape so that nimble not-for-profits, examples being the Working Center, with their new build at 97 Victoria Street and St. Peter's Church. Walking the other day, I saw a sign that they would have 40 units available. I'd love to see the city be able to remove some red tape so that they can continue to be nimble and responsive, but also keep lobbying our governments, our provincial and our federal and our regional governments to have an all-hands-on-deck approach to be able to serve all levels of housing.
So kind of going into the walkable downtown a little bit. Walkable downtown, a general definition of it is, once again, safety and security. So if you don't feel safe, you're not going to walk. Security and beautification kind of go hand in hand. If the downtown's not beautiful, it's not going to work neither. So the neighbors have to feel proud, and the pride of the neighborhood has to be there. So one of the biggest, and I think the strategy is we got to reserve and preserve as much green space as we got. We got to think about how we develop all of these high-rise and very high-density area. Not to say that we don't do it, but we have to do it smartly. We are losing a lot of green space for these things, and we just want to make sure that we don't lose any more, and we make sure that we are thinking about affordable housing in the midst of all these economic.
I've been lobbying as a climate-interested person for many years. I've talked to MPs, MPPs, organizations, stakeholders, institutions about climate policy. I think we need to take the same approach of collaboration, relationship building, and advocacy to address the issue of homelessness. Again, in my social work practice, and even as a neighbor, I've noticed lots of people in my neighborhood, families that I support through my role as a social worker, become evicted or rent-evicted. And I've heard about it at the doors, in which case where people are buying up a property, maybe they're saying a family member will move in, and then a family member doesn't move in, but the rent goes up sky high, or somebody gets a notice of eviction and they really don't know their rights. So as a city, we could do more to build awareness among renters about their rights. I think we have to prevent evictions. I believe preventing evictions prevents addictions, and I think we can do better to ensure that folks are cared about.
The city has a large role to play in homelessness, even though the shelter system is provided by the region. For instance, some of the new shelter programs that have been built, like the Better Tent City, have required municipal zoning variances. So as a council person, I would support those variances, and I would work with the region to be able to build the best possible shelter program that we can design. Thank you.
When it comes to the homeless and encampment, it is a regional issue. However, the solution of that problem, as well as many others, requires coordination with the different levels of government. The City of Kitchener can be a voice that is heard at that table, coming up with suggestions that provide living space for the residents to be worked out in coordination with the region, and as well as the provincial government with respect to funding.
Yes. I've been hearing a lot about this knocking on the doors. Again, the disparity in this issue is heavy. So I know that we have a caring community. I know from talking to the constituents that this is really important to them, and they would like to build a very comprehensive and caring approach. I'd love to see the city have a complete plan for housing, all levels, and an expansive plan that includes all levels of government.
And this is the big issue. This is the political loop that we are stuck in. Everybody's pointing at each other and saying, it's your problem, not my problem. It is a big issue. It's not something that we can solve overnight. But the biggest issue, I think, or the biggest challenge that we can help is affordable housing. And that doesn't mean that, you just say that it's $5 or $10. Affordable housing means that it's affordable for each one of them. And everyone has a different circumstances. So we got to understand what each one of these individual needs, and we have to work with our community area. We have a lot of support for all of these people, so we just have to work with them and understand how we can help each other out. And we have a very short amount of time. Winter is coming very, very fast. We have to really, really tackle this thing rather than just point and finger at each other and say it's your problem.
I have a business degree and a social work degree. I've worked in supporting entrepreneurship in my early career. I moved into settlement work where I created a friendship club and programming in our local YMCA, supporting new immigrants to feel welcome and included here. I've also transitioned from working and supporting immigrants and refugees to working with families in schools. And now as a volunteer, I do a lot of work to ensure that we have a safe and livable planet. So I think because I have experience in many different levels of the community, and as a resident, I'm well-rounded in addressing the many different issues that will come to City Council. I think I have the education, the experience, and the hard work and dedication it takes to ensure that everybody's voice is represented in City Council.
I have a background in economics and international studies. I'm hoping that my 2 degrees will help to give me knowledge-based skills to improve the quality of life for Kitchener residents. I also have a long history of working with marginalized sectors in the community. I have worked at the Ray of Hope Soup Kitchen preparing a meal for the last 10 years, and before that, I was a volunteer at the supportive housing of Waterloo and of the Out of the Cold program at First United Church.
As I said earlier, I have been an advocate for over 32 years, working as a trial lawyer. I believe that advocacy is an important part of the responsibility of a municipal councillor to advocate the positions of the city. I also believe solving problems and building a consensus are also important roles that a councillor can play. My experience as a deputy judge, as well as a mediator, does provide me with expertise in regard to problem solving and consensus building. And so those two characteristics together, the advocacy and the ability to solve problems and find solutions, and which also requires listening to different perspectives in order to reach those consensus and to solve those problems.
My commitment. I am a committed community developer. I've been working with local not-for-profits for over a decade. Places like Horizon, Family and Community Services, Pathways to Education, Habitat for Humanity, the Working Center. And these are places, that are getting things done. They have a reputation of being socially innovative. And I would really love to apply those things to the city. I care and I love my community. And I would really love to serve this community in this way. I also really believe in my vision and our community. Like I said, this is my second time running, and I'm running because I still believe in that vision. I've just been gaining experience and knowledge to be able to apply myself and serve Kitchener in this way.
So a little bit background about myself. We immigrated, my family and I immigrated to Canada back in the early 80s. We at the height of the Vietnamese boat people. I then moved from Ottawa to Manhattan to start my film career, and then I moved back here to Kitchener at early 2000. Since then, I operate a coffee shop with my wife, downtown Kitchener. We've been around for 18 years, and very, very happily, half of that, a lot of that is attributed to the community effort that's kind of helping us out. I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of changes to the downtown and to the people and to the attitude of the people that visit in downtown. We operate and live downtown, so we can have a very, very different perspective rather than sitting somewhere else. We do know what the street need, and we do know the challenge of the area.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.